me, brother, in the ring.
What's going on, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Now for today's video, I wanted to talk about my favorite incarnation of Godzilla, and that happens to be the most brutal, heavy metal, tough, hardcore mutant dinosaur version of this character by far. This specific monster had its own continuity that lasted from 1984 to 1995, and this is the Godzilla I think of immediately when I think of Godzilla. He was so awesome, in fact, that he eventually became the face of what I think many people my age associate with the series, taking Godzilla out of the cheesy and over-the-top schlocky B-movie sensibilities of the 60s and 70s, which were fun in their own right, but this updated the creature for a much darker and violent world. When it comes to this franchise, I think the 7 films within this time frame stand out in a pretty big way, and I'm gonna dive into why many people like myself think they're so cool.
The belt means nothing at this point. It's a little bit personal. Oh, yeah. Come on, ladies, let's go.
So first and foremost is that this is Reboot Godzilla #1. Everything that happened after the original 1954 original was thrown out in this new continuity, and the second film in this series, The Return of Godzilla, kicked it off in '84. First thing we have here is a drastic redesign of the monster. He's made to look not only more menacing, but much more aggressive, and I'd go as far to say that the animatronic that they built for the movie, which I have a whole video on by itself, was awesome, and everything they did to redefine what Godzilla is as a character, taking him away from the more kid-friendly and goofy stuff that you get in later entries from the Showa series, and making him out to be genuinely a monster again. It's awesome. And not only did we get this redesign, but the second redesign for Godzilla happened in 1989 with Biollante. And here's where you have the more cat-looking, jaguar-faced, double-road teeth-specific looking Godzilla. It's awesome. They've designed him a couple of different times after this, but it's kept this same look intact. He looks like a dinosaur that has been spit out of hell with nuclear, reactors and stuff all over his body in some entries. It's awesome. It is an incredibly good looking design, and speaking of the dinosaurian elements, this is the first time where they specifically sat down and said, yeah, Godzilla is not only a dinosaur, he's a Godzillasaurus. What a clever name, by the way. He was actually created due to nuclear fallout in Japan during World War II, and what happened was this Godzillasaurus was irradiated with a whole bunch of nuclear activity and became a gigantic monster. It's cool. It's really cool, actually, and they dive into other surviving dinosaurs slash prehistoric creatures in the sequels in this series, which, by the way, was one continuous timeline. So not only did they set this Godzilla apart by making him meaner again in the first sequel in years, but they also made him aggressively get more powerful each entry, like a Dragon Ball Z season to season thing. He gets stronger in every movie, and every time they try to defeat him, and make no mistake, they really did come close to killing him a couple of times in this series. He gets even stronger after that, which is awesome to me, and it's another reason why I think a lot of people really like this version of the monster, because not only was he more animalistic, showing dinosaurs' relation to birds and the irradiation causing him to basically be a gigantic parental monster T-Rex creature, but he's got a grounded set of abilities. He really could be killed in this series. They added other features like a second brain in his hips, like stegosaurs were believed to have, and he even has this egg nesting system of taking control over another. I don't want to get into it. I'm ruining some of the stuff if you've never seen these before. They are all connected, unlike a lot of the other movies, which are kind of just, here's a Godzilla movie, here's another random Godzilla movie. This had its own continuity, and the only thing we've really seen since is the Monsterverse to have that significant overarching plot. But yeah, he was grounded here. He could be hurt. He would bubble up foam out of his mouth when he was getting strangled by King Ghidorah. The Showa movies would have him bleed and do some stuff like that too, but it was always anthropomorphized. He would dance, he would fly with his radioactive beam. This was way different. He was really an animal monster in this, and a really cool one at that. He was so hardcore, in fact, that by getting more powerful in each and every movie, the military's version of a defense system, G-Force, would have to up their ante and purposefully design entire weapons used to combat the creature.
I see you up in some dark corner in the arena, standing in some alcove, hiding behind her. And
you knew that was coming. You knew this was...
Another reason I really like this version of Godzilla is they take into effect the idea that we can kill him. The original 1954 movie set that apart by having the oxygen destroyer be what destroyed Godzilla. And look, I don't care what people say. It's bad writing to have all the Japanese military forces just jump in their jets and tanks and go out there to literally die. They know they can't defeat him that way. They would literally be marching to their death in vain. They're going out there for no reason other than to get killed. I hated that in the Showa series. It didn't make any sense, and I know that the cushion of plot armor is like, oh, but the only thing that can kill him is the oxygen. No, not true. Heisei Godzilla proves, and the oxygen destroyer is in the continuity here. They come really close to killing Godzilla in this series. They blow up his brains, they shoot him a bajillion times with different weapons, they have cadmium missiles cool down his nuclear power and have him go into a stasis lock thing. This was cool. This had a set of rules that had like legitimate consequences for actions, and it made the characters feel like actual intelligent people combating the monster. I loved it for that.
This psychopath just body slammed the referee right now.
So not only was he so hardcore and got more powerful with every movie, and so did the military fighting him, but he was also so hardcore, he got so strong he died. No joke, the way that Godzilla actually goes out in this series is by absorbing so much nuclear radiation that they foresee this event where he will eventually have a meltdown that will destroy the world. They have to get everything together to cool him down like they did in the 1984 movie, which kind of defeated him but didn't kill him because he woke back up. And dude, this series was really cool. By the way, not only did one Godzilla die in the series, two Godzillas died, and they both weren't from just the nuclear radiation stuff. A little Godzilla is actually killed by another monster, Destroyah, and it's done by just getting the hell beaten out of it.
Scott Steiner, look, Scott Steiner. Hey, there's Goldberg. There's Goldberg.
This was cool. Godzilla is only awesome as the king of the monsters as long as he has to hold his title belt in like a world championship match every movie or so.
Hey, I want my title shot in my town! You give it to me, I'm gonna break your freaking neck!
If you know going in he's undefeatable, it's not really that cool, but they had so many cool enemies, adversaries, and events that really put his life on the line and made it awesome. Not only that, but look at this guy, he's awesome to look at. This was a really cool version of the monster. Each sequel not only played into having Godzilla return as a mean, aggressive attacker of Japan, but they also had updated versions of other creatures, and even when they kept some more traditional, like let's say Mothra, they had Battra, which was like a gothic metal evil version of the same creature.
This is awful. I feel worse than I did the time someone stuck a crazed weasel in my pants.
King Ghidorah got brought back in a much more aggressive looking design, and then you get Mecha-King Ghidorah, Super Frieza Season 3 Dragon Ball version. It was awesome, man. I don't understand why they haven't returned to this sort of sensibility with Godzilla in a long time. I know they had Godzilla vs. Gigan Rex recently, but I'm just saying, I would love a whole set of movies from Toho that picked up right at the end of where Godzilla vs. Destroyah left off and just ran with that as a live action series. I really think that the way these movies played out and how aggressive they kept the monster, and not only that, but how much like insane his adversaries looked. Biolante, Space Godzilla, and even then Rodan was looking way more gnarly.
They are about 50 miles north of here.
These were cool movies, and the series ended, spoiler alert, with not only both Godzillas dying, but the son coming back to life and being resurrected from the nuclear fallout of his father's destruction, making him full-grown Godzilla. And we all know eventually the same thing's probably gonna happen to him, but it was awesome. This is the ultimate version of Godzilla in my opinion, and while I am a big fan of a lot of the other versions that we've gotten since, these were really cool. And when they were first coming out in America, a lot of us didn't really know what to think of them because they were brand new, but they'd technically been out for like 5, 6, or 7 years. We just didn't get them until much later. In fact, it was around the time the 1998 remake was coming out from Roland Emmerich. I thought that this version of Godzilla was updated, He was really cool, and the best way I can describe it is like, you know, the Showa era was our WWF Godzilla, where WWF was kind of falling off a little bit, and all of their cool stars went over to WCW, and this is like your Macho Man, Hulk Hogan, Giant, Goldberg version of Godzilla from the 90s. It was more extreme, gnarly, in your face, and it really was the 90s version of the character. Anyways, guys, these are all just my own thoughts on the subject matter. What do you think of the Heisei Godzilla, the one that was very much so different from what had come before and re-inspired the old school feel of Godzilla from 1954? Whatever your own thoughts and opinions happen to be, I'd love to hear them in the comments down below.
Where's that?